Okay, we're back. This is the book that I'm reading from, not reading from, but I'm trying to share information on. Geez, my spatial understanding is really not good. I can dance. I don't know what I look like, but never thought about that. This is the book. So he has written about this theory in several of his books, but this book really focuses just on the multidimensional theory. And I've been working to understand it, and I think I do. Not only do I feel like I understand it, but I can see so many applications, and it just makes sense. It explains so many wrongs. It explains so much confusion, and it explains the parameters of our existence so that we can begin to understand who we are, why we are, where we are in that cycle. Everything's a cycle. And we can look forward and begin to work within our circle of influence, really. And Aristotle kind of screwed everything up, although I'm with Doug that he wasn't really. The only mentions of Aristotle are in this book, which I had just gotten and was reading when I ran across the notations in Doug's book about that time, the Peloponnesian War. And then I was able to go to the book, look at the chronology, and find out that Aristotle was only mentioned twice, and as a general in a war. There's so much that's been manipulated. Oh my goodness. Just what I've uncovered, and the more I uncover, the more there is to uncover, right? Okay, so these are my notes, and I'm going to hope Doug will let me know, or someone will let me know if I mess up. I love science, but it's new to me. I'm trying to learn everything at one time. So the science community looks at life as being matter-oriented, cause and effect, physical world, having measurements, and that, that comes from Aristotle. Plato, on the other hand, believed that both mind and matter existed and coexisted. And that, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, there, I'm sorry. I'm pushing something. So, okay. Right? Got that? Funny. Okay, let me stay in line here. The thing about that matter-oriented paradigm is that it doesn't explain magnetism, doesn't explain gravity, light, mass. I thought they had all those things wrapped up. Shoot! No. So crazy. So that's a problem. Why haven't they found answers? There are a lot of challenges when it comes to scientist and exploration. And the more I read, the more I understand that they're really limited by funds, number one. And guess who has the funds? And guess who has the power to get the funds to them, and the whole rigmarole, right? So, and then if someone's young and speaks up and goes against something that's a given, the science community's horrible, just like every other one. It's no different anywhere. It doesn't matter what association or industry or anything like that. It's just how it is. So there's jealousy because we live in a world of scarcity, and we have scarcity mentalities. We see matter and we think that's all we've got is that matter. So, okay, here's an example. We're so limited by our thinking. Here's an example. My granddaughter has proven herself since she was very young. She's driven. She knows who she is. She knows where she's going. And she has it laid out. She is so proactive in her living, in her mindset, that, well, things don't stop her. Things don't get in her way, number one. But number two, here's an example. When she was like, maybe in 7th grade, she entered an American Idol star support. What do you call it when you, not a groupie, but a fan club, yeah. And so she entered that, and she told her mom, you need to take off work. And her mom looked at Ashley and just knew, like all of us do that know Ashley, that she needed to take off work, and she scheduled it. And by darn, Ashley got it, and that's how Ashley rolls. So in her situation, not now, but I'm just using her as an example, so I might stretch it just to prove a point. She has incredible degrees. She went to Belmont. She did great. She starred in everything, was in the sorority, did blah, 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 worked for Universal, I think, recording company, met everybody under the sun. And lo and behold, she wanted to be an influencer. So she started that and did beautifully. And people sent her clothes, and she's helped other people, etc. On the side, Ashley's had a princess party gig. She started as a princess and then took the business to Nashville and has done wonderfully. But it's a sideline that she did at college, and so now she's doing influencing in this other. Well, she's added 2 more jobs to get money to fund her fun while she builds these businesses. What would happen? Okay, so when you work a job, right? How are you limited? Yes, by your position, unless you change your situation by learning something more, or by spending enough time to have an edge, or whatever. But you're limited by the number of hours you can work. Even if you work 1,500 hours a week, I don't know what, 7 times 24. Even if you work all that, you're limited. That's your ceiling. But what if you take that time and that energy and do whatever it takes? Either you've got to give up everything to leverage your businesses, and then knowing that you'll get to play soon, or you have to get an investor that can see obviously that you're a winner. But she's in this mindset that she needs to work a job to make money. And that time, just the change, she's good at changing focus, but are you getting the point? And I have no idea what the point was. Okay, we limit ourselves without looking at our real parameters or our real borders. And when it comes to the mind and the subconscious, there are no borders. But we live in a matter world, and so that just colors everything. It keeps us living in a two-dimensional world or three-dimensional world when there are many other dimensions. And that's what this is about. Do you know, when I first started this journey, I was so darn frustrated. I could not begin to understand. I spent 30 years reading the Bible, trying to understand it, meditating, pondering, teaching it, begging people, counting people that got saved. Oh my God, giving testimonies at church. I even risked my life going to Salvador in their war. And that's not an understatement. And so, wouldn't you think that the so-called experts would be up to date on archaeology, on the understanding of ancient language and history? For God's sake, if nothing else, for the sake of our children that need to understand history for the sake of being competitive. Can I tell you how many years I fought to keep the Bible in school? And now that I know what a manipulative, the Torah had great purpose. And some of the stories from the Old Testament are just truth that's been adapted and handed down from the ancients, from the ancients, from the ancients. And one of the funniest things is in this web that I've been in, this menagerie of ideas and paths and craziness, well, I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, well, back to the point. Wouldn't you think that the experts would either say to their congregation, we have some new information. We're learning about Sumer. Sumer had a creation story too. You know, let's look. Let's be real. Let's be honest. And maybe even they would look in like I did. Look, I've never been to seminary. I've just read the Bible like anybody else. Yes, I'm a good investigator. But I'll tell you why I never found this in 33 years. I didn't look for it. I accepted what I was given at a low point, an emotional point in my life, coming out of my husband had just killed himself And all I could see was how I needed some help from my son. And so I married a guy that was, really far right. Could have been a pastor. Anyway, to save my son, to give him a good example. I never thought about anything else. Do you know that now, we raised my son smoking weed almost every night at the kitchen table, which was on the floor, while we did bongs and watched the TV together. And when my son went to kindergarten or first grade, they asked him to draw a picture of home life, and he drew a picture of us sitting there with hearts everywhere and a bong on the table. I've always been so out there, open, and out front, and afraid of, if there's something I'm afraid of, it's duplicity, deception. I don't trust much. And there's lots of reasons for that. And today I'm finding out that that's a gift because I'm able to uncover so many different things. But only 1 to 2% of 100 pastors, rabbis, people who are our go-tos for spiritual and religious things, less than 2% are scholars, even look for or know or want more than what they have. And we base our entire lives on that. I can't tell you how those values, that believing that was my story, that I was going to heaven, that I was pathetic, needed saving so much that look at what it cost to save my sorry life. Well, I didn't think much of myself anyway, so that fit right up my alley. Until it didn't. Until I realized I had a brain. Don't wait to find out who you are. Don't wait to find out you have a mind that works with your spirit in a miraculous way. That's part of this truth. Okay, let's see. I made a note here. My mind travels. I've been trying to connect everything to the human body, and it's working. For example, cycles. Our blood cycles, right? The air in our lungs cycle. A woman cycles. Our brain cycle. We cycle information. See what I mean? And the other day, I was thinking about how we really are. A tree, right? A tree is like this, and all of its leaves are like this, like an antenna, right? And then our legs are planted in the earth, which is magnetic, and we're empowered. And the magnetism that connects us. And that's what yoga is about, is pulling in and letting go. And it's that supernatural current that connects our mind and spirit, that is the energy or the ether that also created the letters that are you and me, which is language, and I'll get off on that because I love it. I don't want to go there. So I wrote this note that the conscious mind is a uterus. Yeah. Well, it couldn't be a womb because the womb carries a baby. But the uterus carries potential. Right? Get it? And so there's an egg in the uterus. The uterus is a habitation, a birthing place for possibility, right? And a lot of civilizations, I think, handle women and their cycles differently. I'm not like up on that to share it, but I do know that it's treated differently, and there's lots of customs around that. This is just my own take. So the conscious mind is the uterus. So if you have an egg there that's comfortable and at home, and then a seed comes looking for fertile ground and they connect. It's like, oh, there's chemistry. Woohoo! They connect. If there is a connection, a good one, a strong one, maybe there's sound in it. There has to be lots of power. That's a big thing to think about. So I'll make that a side note. So, okay. So the sperm comes knocking at the door, and I've got another analogy that's really good too for that. The sperm comes knocking at the door, and then there's a spark. And a new, whether it's an animal or a human, new life takes place. And I believe that it's like an orchestra, because the sperm carries the DNA, which are the letters of the tree of life, or the Sefer Yetzirah, and they're made of sound. And so if that sound is what he has brown eyes, he's tall, his background is from royalty or from Africa or whatever, and his physical challenges in that information, right, are, what does the information say? But the information is a part and parcel of the seed, or of the seed syndrome, of the mother, which is what the letters are called, mothers. So the mother, okay, let me back up. So when those two unite, a spark of that person and that person dance and sing and form a new orchestra, one that has never been heard before and will never be heard again, unless I don't know about that parallel universe stuff. I'm just getting started on this. So, okay. I think I had more. I'm going to have to think about that. Right? You can think about it too. Okay, so the quote that made me think of that is the conscious mind births miracles in creation. Isn't that pretty darn cool? And my note is everything is created twice. I don't know why. When I learn something simple, it never lets me down. And that's one of them, is all things are created twice. You can't build a house without a plan. And you can't build the plan without your mind to get it, right? There has to be a source. And that source is energy with information. And that information from inside you gets transmuted to the paper in mathematics and geometry and okay, I'm lost again. Okay. And then another thing that I also love is, and I don't know who this belongs to, whoever came here first and, got their name on it, but it's how it is. And the more I learn about it, the more exciting it is. And here's a perfect example, right? As above, say my waist is the ground. As above, so below. And now they are saying that we have brain cells in our stomachs. We probably have brain cells everywhere. Just like spirit and consciousness. Because otherwise, why could you change your physiology with your mind? Think about it. I'm just bold. I'm 70. I can say anything I want. Right? I wouldn't have ever said this. I need to do something with the chair. I wouldn't have ever said this 20 years ago. But if you want to see how powerful your mind is, think about sex. You can get a thought and let that thought sink in, and your body parts respond. So if that's true, now I understand there's a lot of blood in certain places that help that process along, but I also know that we're able to call blood to a place that's hurt or we have magnetization. So, okay. This is one of my favorite things, and I've got a couple more out there, and they're bigger. But this is a lightning rod. Oh my gosh. It is alive. It is It's amazing. And I want everybody to have one to feel it. And then I found out that our moods affect water. I got some and stared at it for a while the other day. I had to do something about this chair. I did. Well, I'm sure I didn't wait long enough, or I wasn't focusing well enough, and so I'm going to have to keep working on that. But I would expect that we could make water swirl. Haven't you ever seen, like, places, like, if you look in the woods and there's no wind, but then there's 2 leaves that are, and you're like, what's going on? And you get closer and they're just gone to town, but there's no wind. You know, I even put my hand up there. When I first said, what are my expectations of truth? I said that I expect that truth would reconcile with nature. That's my basic foundational criteria. Is truth must be universal and must reconcile with nature. That's not too much to ask. It's the same creator. His fingerprints should be on everything, right? Could you do a project or build a city without having your name on it? No. You might have it in the cornerstone, which is a whole nother topic, isn't it? Or you might have it in the flag, or in the, what do you call it? Not the armor, but the, when you look up ancestry, you find so many. And trying to understand the symbolism of each one of them is really, it's fun, but oh, you can spend hours doing it. I'd like to spend a whole lot more time doing that. And I want to plug, what is her name? Square Peg? Square Peg, I think. I met her through somebody on YouTube, and I just like her so much. I've learned a lot about chronology, which is blow your mind stuff. I'll get to it. This is a good way to figure out what the audience wants and what they don't. I always want to know everything. Eddington wrote a book called The Nature of the Physical World. I ordered it, but I haven't gotten it. It wasn't online. Not unusual. Although there's some people that are being wonderful to upload texts of the ancient work that blow your mind stuff. And then you can see where the information came from that they picked and chose from to pull the Bible together. Not the New Testament, that's all BS. All right. He said that there's a universal mind, a logos, a consciousness not sharply defined, but one that fades into the subconscious and beyond. He said the stuff of the world is mind stuff, and that there's something indefinite but continuous with our mental nature. Einstein said, "Rarely in the scientific mind have there not been religious feelings, a harmony of natural law, an intelligence of such superiority and systematic thinking and action of human, utter, insignificant reflection." Does that make sense? It did when I wrote it. An intelligence of such superiority, all systematic thinking and acting of human matter. I don't know, I'll have to find out. Oh well. And Sir James Jean from Cambridge University said that the universe was a great thought, not a great machine. So I think that, I don't know how much time it's been, 36 minutes. I hope there's some quality here. I'm sorry my mouth is so dry, and I know I'm dehydrated because the sun is really rough, and I've been out in it and not drinking my water, but I'm back at it. And there's so much great benefit to drinking water and putting a little salt or vinegar or something to like bring it alive. And I do like this water. Some people say it's, who knows? I like it. Makes me feel better about drinking. And anything that'll help me stay healthy is good for me. Over and out. I'll be back with the next episode probably in an hour or two. Got it all together. Just gotta get it out. Thanks for tuning in.